Universal has been expanding its parks for years in its goal to rival Disney. Much like Disney Springs, Universal offers CityWalk, which debuted in 1999 and provides a wide range of shopping and dining experiences for guests. Over the years, CityWalk has undergone significant transformations, and in this video, we'll dive into the evolution of Universal CityWalk and how it became the vibrant destination it is today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Before Universal debuted Islands of Adventure in 1999, the area in front of Universal Studios was nothing more than a parking lot. However, alongside the announcement of Islands of Adventure, Universal unveiled another ambitious project, CityWalk, opening in February of 1999, just 3 months before Islands of Adventure. This expansion was a cornerstone of Universal's vision to evolve into a full-fledged resort destination. With the creation of CityWalk, parking was relocated within 2 massive garages, and guests accessed the area via moving walkways. Once inside, they were greeted by a vibrant hub featuring shops, diverse dining options, a movie theater, karaoke, and even a mini golf course. CityWalk has a ton to offer guests. So much so that covering everything in this video would be quite overwhelming. Instead, I'll focus on the premier dining locations and how they've changed, and in the next video, I'll go over the quick service restaurants, shops, and other experiences that CityWalk offers. Looking at Universal CityWalk in its early years, it's clear that it initially served more as an extension of the park rather than a standalone destination. Universal accomplished this by offering a mix of premium and quick service dining options that were distinct and enticing enough for guests to enjoy after their park visit. However, over time, CityWalk transformed into a unique destination, attracting guests even when a park visit wasn't on the agenda. Today, CityWalk has come a long way from its initial start, now boasting some of the most unique dining experiences in Orlando. With that in mind, let's take a look back at some of the premium restaurants that are no longer a part of CityWalk and what took their place once they left. Before diving into these locations, please keep in mind that I don't have access to many of these older restaurants, and finding either footage or pictures can be challenging. This means I may not be able to provide exact footage of the restaurant and what exactly I'm talking about, as I can with the newer, more accessible restaurants. However, regardless, I'd love to see your comments down below, sharing your experiences with both the restaurants of the past and the ones available today. When thinking about the premium sit-down restaurants Universal offered in the past, a few iconic names immediately come to mind. NBA City, NASCAR Sports Grill, Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, and Emeril's Restaurant. These establishments were the cornerstone of CityWalk's upscale dining scene upon its opening. While some served more standard dishes like burgers, wraps, and wings, others aimed to deliver truly unique dining experiences like Emeril's, which revolved around the celebrity chef Emeril Lagasse. He was such a dominant figure in the early 2000s that I vividly remember my mom buying his cookware and watching him regularly on the Food Network. While the food at these restaurants wasn't always groundbreaking, the experiences they offered were undeniably memorable. Each dining location had its own distinct theme, allowing each restaurant to set themselves apart in some way. I'll be diving into every dining option in detail, but I'll primarily focus on the theming of the overall restaurant rather than the food aspect, as I feel others could do a much better job of covering that, and I have to consider the fact that a lot of these restaurants are closed, and I'm really unable to give that opinion. I'll discuss what was available when CityWalk first opened, whether those venues have been replaced, and what's currently available. Starting with NBA City, this restaurant opened with CityWalk in 1999. The restaurant was themed entirely around the NBA, of course, offering plenty of options for long-standing basketball fans. Outside the restaurant, stood a 33-foot tall statue of the NBA logo man, based on Los Angeles Lakers legend Jerry West. Additionally, the exterior featured basketballs with hand imprints from notable players like Scottie Pippen, Kevin Garnett, and Patrick Ewing. Heading inside, the restaurant's design drew inspiration from classic arenas of the 1940s and 50s and was divided into 3 separate sections: the dining area, arcade, and NBA store. The dining area featured screens all around its space, including 2 massive 15-foot displays, ensuring guests could watch NBA games from any seat. The walls were adorned with photos of famous players, as well as murals that celebrated basketball history. The arcade was a highlight for many visitors, offering a variety of games to enjoy while waiting to be seated. Towards the back of the arcade, a green screen allowed guests to take souvenir photos, really helping add on that personalized touch to their experience. Finally, the NBA store offered merchandise from all teams in the league, including shirts, hats, basketballs of course, and exclusive NBA city-themed items. The menu here offered classic American fare, as guests could enjoy options like oak smoked ribs, jambalaya, and the signature courtside burger. While the food maybe wasn't groundbreaking here, I think it fit a more casual dining experience and represented the theme fine. While NBA City never personally resonated with me, it's clear that many guests appreciated it, as it was voted the best themed restaurant in Orlando twice during its operation. After 16 years, NBA City announced its closure in June of 2015 and officially shut its doors on August 15, 2015. NBA fans wouldn't be without a dedicated venue for long though, as Disney Springs opened the NBA experience in 2019, offering a new way for fans to engage with their love of the sport. Even though NBA City is no longer available, it has been replaced by what is arguably one of the best restaurants in CityWalk today, Toothsome Chocolate Emporium and Savory Feast Kitchen, which opened on September 22, 2016, and hosts a steampunk theme. Not only that, but the restaurant even has a story behind it. The story here revolves around 2 characters, a steampunk ambassador and chocolate connoisseur named Penelope, and her robot companion, Jax, who even make live appearances at the restaurant. The duo here travels the world seeking adventure and chocolate recipes. However, the story does have more to it than that, as it sets up why the restaurant itself exists. Specifically, when Penelope returned home to London after an extended trip, she found her parents gone. Left behind was a note that read, "We have set out to join your adventures. Surely the world isn't so big that we can't find you. We shall look for you wherever chocolate can be found." In response, Penelope created the Chocolate Emporium and Savory Feast Kitchen, hoping it would serve as a delicious beacon to help her parents find their way back to her. From the outside, Toothsome is arguably the most striking restaurant in CityWalk. With its impressive steampunk aesthetic, the exterior here features various moving gears, steam stacks that actually produce steam, and even has a somewhat feel of it that reminds me of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It even has themed lampposts, and while this may seem dumb or somewhat slight, these type of things really help create that thematic cohesion. Stepping inside, the steampunk aesthetic continues in full force, with copper pipes running along the ceiling and connecting to various machines. To the right of the entrance, there's a line offering an array of sweets, including macarons, truffles, and cakes. This area also features Toothsome-themed merchandise, as well as colorful candy dispensers that line the wall. To the left of the entrance, you'll find Toothsome's famous milkshake bar, which offers an assortment of milkshakes and sundaes. The milkshakes here are no joke either, as they are piled on with things like pieces of cake, cookies, and even whole Rice Krispie treats. The area here is surrounded by more copper piping, bags of cocoa beans, and even has a transparent pipe showcasing the beans in motion as they spin. When I visited closer to Christmas, they even added a festive touch, a Christmas tree decorated with cogs, perfectly taking something seasonal and tying it to its theming. The food at Toothsome seamlessly ties in as well, elevating the experience beyond just some visual elements and a little bit of candy. Noteworthy offerings, such as the cocoa and hot honey dusted wings, creatively reflect the restaurant's unique concept. Another standout menu item is the bacon and brie flatbread, which, as it describes, a 2 chocolate stout bacon jam, an inventive twist that perfectly utilizes its theme to its strength. With all of this in mind, Toothsome firmly establishes itself as a must-visit dining destination in CityWalk. I feel it shows what Universal can be truly capable of when it comes to themed dining, and I hope to see more like this within Epic Universe. Our next restaurant is NASCAR Cafe, another establishment that opened with Universal CityWalk in 1999. This restaurant was, of course, themed to NASCAR and featured numerous race cars on its exterior, as well as some on its interior, showcasing iconic drivers like Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon. The building's exterior design included brickwork and prominently displayed a checkered flag, as well as offered the NASCAR gear store. Inside, the cafe was split into 2 floors, both offering sit-down dining. However, the second floor featured a mix of dining, a bar, and an arcade. Guests could even sit in cars and watch races, adding an interactive element to the experience. The gear store here offered the usual shirts and hats, but also offered more specific things like racing jackets and die-cast model race cars. The arcade, though smaller than the one at NBA City, focused primarily on racing games, and while it didn't offer a lot, it still had a good variety. The menu was interesting, to say the least, and while the food here was fairly standard, it embraced the theme through creatively named dishes such as Points Leader Chicken Alfredo and Talladega Cheesy Burger, just to name a few. The restaurant was eventually renamed to NASCAR Sports Grill. Unfortunately, after 15 years of operation, it closed its doors in November of 2014 to make way for Universal's next restaurant of choice. Now, while I'm not a NASCAR fan or anything like that, I think the restaurant's theming was clever and would have delighted any NASCAR fan. There aren't many NASCAR-themed restaurants, or I think really anything out there, so this was undoubtedly a unique offering. However, I believe Universal made a mistake with replacing it with their next restaurant. That said, I can understand the reasoning. NASCAR Sports Grill had a distinctly 1990s vibe, and as Universal sought to transform CityWalk into a destination in its own right, rather than just an addition to a day at the parks, some bold changes were inevitable. With that in mind, let's move on to its replacement. NBC Grill Brew would replace NASCAR Sports Grill and open October 22, 2021. It's clear that the restaurant attempts to carry on the sports-themed spirit that NASCAR Sports Grill and NBA City once had, though it does so in a less compelling way. The exterior is rather plain, aside from the sign and the standout feature being the jumbo screens playing various sports clips. There just isn't much to draw attention here. However, I will say, if you make your way to where the old gear store was and look up, you can actually see a brewery. Whether this is actual or for show is unknown, but regardless, it is a nice touch. Heading inside, the restaurant features a bar and dining area adorned with countless screens showing sports content, as well as an open kitchen for guests to view. While it's certainly not the worst dining option in CityWalk, it doesn't rank among the best either. It feels overly corporatized, similar to the impression I mentioned in my Race Through New York video. The food here doesn't do much either, with a menu consisting of standard options like burger, steaks, or pasta. And while this isn't necessarily bad, it just isn't unique. One interesting item on the menu is the Hawaiian barbecue brisket quesadilla, which sounds great. But despite this, the menu as a whole doesn't offer much to stand out from your average dining experience. The seating area creates an experience that feels more like an average sports bar with a little extra flair, rather than something unique you'd expect at CityWalk. Overall, NBC Grill Brew doesn't quite capture the same energy or creativity that the other restaurants available in CityWalk do. The theming feels more commercialized, and while it's a perfectly fine place to grab a bite and catch a game, it's just not particularly memorable. When compared to everything else on offer, even if these other restaurants do have food that's quite similar, their theming is done much better. And if theming is maybe not something you care about so much, then perhaps this is the place for you, but I just feel that NBC Grill & Brew is missing that special touch that makes dining in CityWalk stand out. With that being said, let's move on to a restaurant that does nail its theming. A restaurant that has been a staple of CityWalk since its opening, and still remains to this day, is Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, based around the legendary singer himself. The restaurant here sports a beach-inspired theme, and even has an extension directly across from it, the Lone Palm Airport Bar. Now, taking a quick look at the restaurant and bar's exterior, it's clear how strongly it embraces its tropical theme. Vibrant colors, lounging chairs, palm trees, and a facade resembling a classic beach house as far as the restaurant goes, all contribute to its laid-back seaside feeling. What truly enhances this atmosphere is the location near the water taxi pathways, which is where guests arrive from various on-property hotels. Making our way inside, the seaside beach theme continues without flaw. The dining area is adorned with boat sails, palm trees, surfboards, water-themed floor tiles, and even the famous airplane from the bar, though on a smaller scale. In the dining area, you'll find various themed wallpapers. While the ceiling features a map, the walls have sunset-inspired designs, further enhancing the beach aesthetic. One standout feature here is the boat sails themselves, which is where videos of Jimmy Buffett singing his music play, adding a dynamic and personal touch to the atmosphere. The final major thematic element is the iconic volcano, which erupts every time Jimmy Buffett's song Volcano plays, creating a lively and memorable experience for the guests who witness it. In fact, the water from the volcano even pours into a giant mixer. Now, of course, it wouldn't be Margaritaville if it didn't have margaritas, which of course it does, but as far as the food, which is what we're focusing on, it mainly features chicken and fish dishes, with burgers available as well. Some standout menu items that really carry that theme are things like the Mahi Mahi tacos and the cheeseburger in paradise, both of which tie in quite well. I'm a huge fan of the beach, and having lived in Florida practically my whole life, I've always enjoyed spending time there. The beach-inspired theming here feels spot on and probably resonates with many guests, as it's a theme almost anyone can connect with. That's likely one of the many reasons Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville has remained a staple of CityWalk since the park's opening in 1999. But we also have to assume, of course, that the food can't be too bad either. Before moving on, let's take a quick look at the Lone Palm Airport Bar. While it doesn't offer much beyond the Jimmy Buffett song it's named after, the thematic seating and its role as a bar make it a convenient spot for guests to grab a drink or a small bite to eat without committing to a sit-down dining experience. Its theming aligns perfectly with the main restaurant, creating a seamless and enjoyable extension. However, it is unfortunate that Universal removed the iconic airplane that once stood there, as it truly added to the experience and served as a landmark within the CityWalk section. Our next stop does take us right behind Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, or at least to where the restaurant used to be, and that's Emeril's Restaurant. Finally, we arrive at what was CityWalk's ambitious attempt to elevate its dining experience, Emeril's, which, like many of the other restaurants on this list, opened up with CityWalk. Universal ventured here into a more upscale concept that, while ultimately didn't work out, was fascinating to witness. The restaurant's exterior wasn't as striking as Tootsome's, but it featured expansive glass windows wrapping around the building, complemented by a prominent green emerald sign. This design seemed tailored to intrigue guests, offering a glimpse into its impressive interior, which was undoubtedly its standout feature. The two-story building showcased stone walls, hardwood floors, and a modern, at the time of course, yet refined aesthetic. Guests could enjoy an open kitchen, providing a front row view of chefs skillfully preparing their meals. The second floor offered views of the main dining area and included 2 private party rooms. Beyond that, the restaurant boasted a 10,000 bottle wine gallery, a cigar bar, and a chef's tasting room, features that truly set it apart from anything else at CityWalk. Emerald's menu offered an array of sophisticated and flavorful dishes that complemented the restaurant's upscale nature. Highlights included braised beef short ribs, baked lobster, or something outside the usual like the catfish po' boy, looking to create that elevated dining experience that wasn't available anywhere else in CityWalk. Although I never had the opportunity to dine at Emerald's, its sophistication and uniqueness were undeniable. It represented a bold departure from the more casual experiences typically found at CityWalk. This distinction extended to its menu. However, the high-end approach likely contributed to its closure, as the upscale nature may have felt out of place within the landscape of CityWalk. Emerald's was the kind of experience worth trying at least once, and while its replacement doesn't quite achieve the same level of sophistication, it remains intriguing in its own right. With that, let's take a closer look at Big Fire Restaurant. Big Fire Restaurant opened July 7, 2019, and doesn't change much when it comes to the building. Instead, it simply wraps it in that Big Fire aesthetic, ready to go. Things like the bar and the viewing area where guests could see their food being made are still dominant features. However, the experience itself is now a lot more casual, as opposed to the refined nature of Emerald's. In terms of its theming, the exterior does a good job, grabbing the attention with its spacious glass windows, much like its predecessor, as well as introducing an outside dining area. However, the interior feels less impressive. It goes for this generic, modern, clean aesthetic that you've seen probably 100 times. The standout feature here is the open flame concept, which serves as the restaurant's defining characteristic. Now, looking at the menu, Big Fire offers a selection of items that embrace the open flame cooking method, which is the key feature of the restaurant, like I said. Guests can enjoy a range of wood-grilled meats, including steaks, chicken, and fish, each prepared over a big fire, using different types of wood to enhance the flavors. The restaurant's offerings also include unique items like s'mores and wood-fired pizzas. Unfortunately, outside of the gimmick cooking method, there isn't too much else here that stands out with Big Fire. It may actually speak to a wider audience now though, since its approach is much more casual, but it somehow just doesn't feel like much in terms of a replacement over Emerald's looking at the scale. Now, before we move on to this final restaurant, I know a lot of you are probably expecting me to discuss places like Cowfish or Vivo, but I feel that while those restaurants aren't quick service, they don't quite fit the same category of premium dining locations that we've covered today. For that reason, I'll be saving them for part 2. With all this in mind, let's move on to the final restaurant of CityWalk. Our final restaurant in this discussion, and arguably the most iconic on this list, is the Hard Rock Cafe. Like Margaritaville, it has been a staple of CityWalk since its opening. The restaurant isn't just the largest Hard Rock Cafe in the world, it also offers much more than food, with a 3,000-person concert venue known as Hard Rock Live attached to it, as well as a gift shop known as the Rock Shop. Starting outside, the Hard Rock Cafe's exterior is undoubtedly massive, with part of the building designed to resemble the Roman Colosseum. One distinctive feature was a pile of rubble that once had a car buried in it. The car's headlights would turn on at night, however, that has since been replaced with a large red guitar. Another standout feature is the silver section surrounding the Hard Rock logo, which creates a wave effect that changes based on the wind's direction. While the exterior is unique, it's the interior that truly makes the Hard Rock Cafe shine. Inside, the Hard Rock Cafe is divided into two sections, the restaurant and the rock shop. What makes this restaurant so fascinating is that it doubles as a museum, showcasing various items worn by legendary musicians alongside murals and videos of famous singers. In the middle of the restaurant is a bar, featuring a 1959 pink Cadillac convertible as its centerpiece. Above the bar, the ceiling is adorned with a mural styled similarly to iconic, old-school Christian paintings. Surrounding the dining area are guitars, records, and other memorabilia, all paying tribute to musical legends like Michael Jackson, Prince, Elvis Presley, and more. As for the food, it's fairly standard for older restaurants, consisting mainly of burgers and sandwiches. However, if you're dining here, it's likely for the incredible theming rather than the cuisine. One standout menu item I will say is the Messy Burger, a steak burger topped with provolone cheese, sliced chorizo, caramelized red onions, and a signature spicy sauce, making it one of the most interesting dishes available. The Rock Shop offers the usual merchandise, such as shirts, cups, or jackets, but it also sells unique items like poker sets. What makes this shop special is its theming. Hanging from the ceiling are various musical instruments, while TVs play music videos, and additionally, there are more displays of musicians' clothing adding to that experience. Overall, it's easy to see why the Hard Rock Cafe has stood the test of time. Its ability to be more than just a restaurant, acting as both a tribute and a museum to the music of past and present, makes it a must-visit for fans of legendary musicians and iconic moments in music history. Clearly, we had quite a bit to cover in this video, and while it may seem like I skipped over some premium sit-down restaurants like Cowfish or Antojitos, these are much more casual compared to what we discussed today. However, rest assured they will be featured in part 2 of this series, along with the other amenities within CityWalk. But I will say that I will not be covering Bubba Gump, as the theming is the same across all the restaurants and isn't anything special in that sense. As we wrap this up, I want to take a moment to thank all of you for your incredible support of this channel. We've recently hit over 3,000 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing and honestly feels surreal to me. Creating videos like this is truly a passion of mine, and tackling large-scale projects like covering CityWalk in its entirety takes a lot of time and effort to put together. Thank you again for making this possible, and I'll see you all in the next video.